let's go.
Cheers, brother.
I think I'm going to start off by trying this coffee. This is my first ever cold drip coffee.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, man. Enjoy. Nectar of the gods.
Huh. It's very bitter.
Yeah, it's coffee. I taste all the sweetness. I'm like, man, it's like chocolate. And you're like, the first thing you say is, it's so bitter. Oh, sounds like my son. Sounds like Balin. Like, everything's bitter. It's like, it needs more sugar. Everything needs more sugar. You sweet man.
So, I've only just started drinking coffee. Before like 2 weeks ago, I really didn't drink coffee. And I've only been having like mochas and cappuccinos.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone does when they start coffee. I think it's like I'm a milk with 4 sugars kind of guy.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And then eventually, you just like, I just do it for the joy of coffee. That's all. My sister was a barista, or is still a barista, and I guess that's where I found all the different varieties of coffee and how to try different varieties or different ways to have it. And this is the best way I found for me. Otherwise, I just get real sick. Like,
really?
if I have hot coffee, I get a stomachache. So this coffee is less acidic and less bitter, apparently.
Less bitter. Okay. Look, it's not bad. It's just like, I'm not just like, yummy.
Like I am.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of caffeine? Have you always had a lot of caffeine?
I think so. And
because it kind of goes with the territory of what we've done in the past, right?
yeah, definitely.
A lot of trainers, coaches and stuff do that.
Yeah, I used to have like a bit of a rule where it was like, I only really trust coaches that drink coffee. But it's more just...
That was your life rule?
It was the first rule. And, but I think I don't drink coffee for the caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't ever drink coffee for the hit. I drink coffee because it's the joy. I just get a massive amount of joy making it, drinking it.
So you made this?
Yeah.
This morning?
No, this is like a couple of days ago.
Okay.
It makes this. I finally bought my dream device, which is this 4-foot tower, and it makes about 25 cups in one go. So it takes about 2 days to drip through, about 3 liters of water, and it's got about 250 grams of coffee in it. So it makes rocket fuel. Makes about 2 liters of this stuff.
Wow.
And we've had like 100 mils in the
and
serve.
How much
caffeine
is in there?
A lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's strong.
So I'm gonna go from this to maybe down there. Where that
I think you might go up this way first.
Oh, also,
sunny Gold Coast.
Yeah, guys, we're in the Gold Coast. It's amazing. It's beautiful. If you can hear the noise of the cars and ocean behind us, that's,
it's beautiful.
Part of the ambience. So it's beautiful. We're here for Masters Nationals, and I invited Linzey out because I've been pestering him for like the last couple of months to do a podcast, and it's just kind of never lined up with both our schedules. But it has now, which is pretty cool.
Here we are.
Yeah, the stars aligned.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Where do we go?
I think we start off with what you're doing at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
Because you've had a lot of change and growth in your life, and
so much, man. My life has done a 360 and been inverted all at the same time. Nothing is the same as it was, say, a year and a half ago when I had the club. Even then, basically what I'm doing now is I'm full-time working at a company called Wild Earth, which is an adventure camp store, and I absolutely love it. The team that we have there is incredible, and the background for that was I used to coach the CEO and the owner years ago, Jimmy. So just put the feelers out there. Wanted something really close to home, and just wanted something super simple. I just wanted to simplify my life. I think the easiest way to understand it was I did some rites of passage work last year, and inside of the rites of passage it gave me some concepts around ordering your life, and the simplified version of that is, number one is yourself. Put yourself first. If you're in a family unit, put your partner second, behind, like next to you or behind you slightly, then your family, your kids, and then put your work forward. And that took a lot of changing my life around to do that, because historically for me it was, I put my business first, and then I put my partner next, and then I sometimes flip between putting myself next or my family next. And it was really out of whack for me. So obviously I cooked myself to the point where I, imploded. But yeah, just really trying to refine that. And I guess every time I go to do something, I'm like, how does this affect those 4 factors? And in what order am I putting that? So by doing that, it's radically changed my life, man.
Can you talk about the rites of passage that you did?
Yeah, man. It was the company, or the rites of passage, is called MKP, or the Mankind Project. And
I think you spoke about it on the last podcast as well. Did you know
Maybe.
about him before?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the timeline, but I was introduced to MKP through Ellen Willis. So Ellen's probably lifting this weekend, no doubt. And her partner was one of the guys that sort of introduced it into Australia. So it was originally from the US, about 20 years ago. And I don't know, I think it's Western culture in general, but we don't really have rites of passage. Like, there's no rites of passage for men to become, from boys turning into men. There's maybe getting your license, or finishing school, or being able to drink, or there's no real clear definition. Maybe you feel like you become a man when you become a dad. Like, maybe that's a thing. That's what I felt like when I was, when Balin was born and I was only 21. It was kind of like, well, now I have to be the adult because I'm having a kid. And that sort of changes my sort of, the outlook or your approach. So MKP basically is a initiation, a men's rites of passage and an initiation. And it was awesome. It was life-changing for me. But it was also at a time in my life where I was open for it and ready for it, and essentially needing it. So that's why I think it had such a profound impact for myself. And what happens there, it's every man has a different experience. You test it physically, mentally, emotionally, and basically I feel like just part of you dies in a metaphoric way. And I think that's beneficial for a lot of men to probably go through a process that's similar. Not to say that MKP is the only way to do it. I'm sure there's other rites of passages out there, but I feel like uninitiated men are easily seen. Because I feel like I see it in a lot of men where I feel like they're adults, but they have boyish behaviour, or haven't been tested.
Yeah.
They haven't been tested.
And what were the tests? Or what were some of the tests? Or what were the things that really...
I think really it's like emotional intelligence is one of the big ones for men. And I think it's not... I'm not going to divulge any of the information because it actually takes away from anyone else's experience.
Okay.
So what they say is it's sacred, but it's not secret.
Yeah.
So I could explain it, but I would do a shonky job of it. And then you would go in having an expectation of something. So all I say is just that, you're emotionally and physically tested throughout the weekend in a way that's loving, and that has an outcome where I think you're more of a complete man in my view of it.
And you're much happier now?
Yeah, I'd say so. In the sense of more comfortable with me, but I'm also very different to who I was. As a coach, like running my club and trying to be a father and trying to be a husband and all those sorts of things. It's just like, I kind of look back and go, that doesn't even feel like me now. And that's why I think when people ask me, like, would you ever coach again? The answer is, for me at the moment, is still a no. I still feel into that and go, no. And I think it's, for me, is more, there's different lessons for me to get out of life or out of what there is to do with coaching, because I did that. And I feel like too, it's like things aren't linear and things aren't forever. So it's kind of like you get to this point where, for me, I'd done a lot of things within coaching, and got to certain levels and coached a certain amount of people, and I was kind of like, I'm starting to repeat it over and over, and it's like, not to say that's not valuable for somebody, but for me it was like, I've done that lesson. I've planted that tree and got the fruit and felt what I needed to get from it, and it was kind of like, what's next now? Not, I want to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
What have been some of the biggest changes you've made then, other than just within yourself? Like, what are the things that people can sort of see you doing different?
Oh, I mean, when before I shut the club, I should say, is I've lost like 20 kilos, man. I'm like, the stress that I was holding on to for myself, not to say that anyone was giving me any stress, but I've definitely changed the way I look and feel in that sense. And I think that just comes back to sort of having this self-awareness and self-love to, basically love myself and give myself space and time. And stress is a fucking killer, dude. Like, it's just so stressed for so long, and I feel like it's like a pressure thing. It's like you don't know there's pressure on you until it's not there. So I just felt like once the club was shut and I was able to give myself time to, heal, I guess, it was like my body started to change and my idea, just so many things changed. So
how long was that process? Was it like quick after the club closed?
I think it was about a year, I'd say. Maybe like 6 months. I think the first 6 months was pretty transformational, and then I felt like another couple of months after that of like settling into that change, because I feel like that happens for a lot of people. It's kind of like, what's the new normal? And I don't think you know that until it's been a while and different sort of things happen. So I feel like maybe up to a year it was.
That's really cool.
Yeah, man, it's so bizarre. Like, I'm trying to put it to words or articulate it, and it's just this feeling of expanding, like, and releasing all sorts of stuff, trauma, upset. Like, the great thing about the initiation that I did was they had weekly meetings that you could go to. So like a group, like an integration group. So I went for like 6 months every week nearly, and it's just that constant purging of whatever emotional baggage or storage I had, or story that I had about somebody or whatever it might be. So it's like being able to release and shed all that unwanted feelings out of my body or out of my psyche really allowed me to just sort of free myself and exhale. Yeah, it feels good. Feels really good. So yeah, when you ask me, like, are you happier? It's like, I just actually feel like I can feel more. Whereas before, I just don't think I even allowed myself to have the feelings. It's too scary to pry open that feeling box because I was so busy. What did someone say recently? It was something about stress. It's like, if you are stressed, you can't think. It's like the blood draws out of your brain and just goes into like mammal brain or reptile brain, where it's just like basic things, basic needs met. And it's trying to work that out of trying to hit that process point where you can actually be relaxed enough that you can let feelings come in. I think that's why a lot of people end up changing their life when they're on holidays. They kind of have enough time to process and go, what am I doing? What do I actually want? Like, is this actually servicing me, or is this something that's just like I'm in a rut with? Have you found that?
Yes, I think everyone needs time away from their life to. It's how it's super easy to give someone advice because you're not living their life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as a coach, when someone's making a mistake, it's much easier to, say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, than for that person to, notice what they're doing wrong. And I think taking a break from your life really gives you the chance to have that outsider's perspective on your life as well.
Yeah, coaching, man, it's just like external factors are just such a big part of it. Like that whole 360-degree athlete model that Tani and I made for the club, it's just basically to help people look at not just that the program's the only thing. Like, I'm so sick and tired of having that conversation with someone about, oh, the program. It's like, fuck, it's never the program. It's almost like every program works if you believe in it.
Yeah.
And there's so many other factors that happen in your life that actually affect your training other than the fucking program. Like, seriously, it's almost irrelevant. You know?
I agree.
I look at stuff sometimes, and in the conversations that I've had with athletes over the years, and it's just, it dumbfounds me. It dumbfounds me that people are so in their life that they can't step out. They literally cannot step out of it and have a bigger look at it and notice. And man, I'm the same. You know, like in what I was trying to do, it's like, it's no different. So it's like, judgment is not for them to go, you know, I'm better or I see everything because I'm 40 stories up. It's more just,
we're actually 13 stories up.
It's a long way up, man. Like, my speed is sweating.
Yeah, it's getting warm, isn't it?
It's just like, it's high. Yeah, so, yeah, the space. I mean, that's what I've looked at. Like, I made massive mistakes with the club. I know that. Like, we went from you know, a city with no weightlifting club, 2011, to opening up the club in 2012. And then by 2015 being the largest weightlifting club, like 129 members we got it to. Largest privately owned. Cougars and Gold Coast Weightlifting Club are the two biggest clubs in this country, you know, and we were just creating so much momentum, and, you know, had a lot of help, and we created a team and did all this stuff. Like, Tani was just instrumental for the club. She's the backbone of the place, and to be honest, man, she would have fired me years ago if she could have, and the club probably would have been better for it. But it was one of those things where, yeah, I know for myself the biggest mistake that I made with the club is not having the leadership skills to create and keep the team. I created the team, but I couldn't keep the team together. I just didn't have the skills for it. It was a skill set that I couldn't stop the club to go and learn to then implement.
Yeah.
It kind of needed to be a natural progression, and I fucked it up. Like, and it's only now that I can see that. At the time, it was like I was sitting there juggling 3 balls, and then it was like that we just kept adding them in until it just became a fucking circus for myself, like a mental circus. I was like, I was cooked. I put myself way too out there and invested way too much into what I had to do to keep it going, and it wasn't for one person, you know. And then that's where it became really difficult, because once the team started to withdraw or move or shift and change, and the size of the place is, I couldn't keep it the way it was, you know. Like, they say in the literature of weightlifting, a coach should have probably about 4 athletes if they want to work at a high level. Scale that. How many coaches do you need? If you've got 100 athletes, that's a lot of coaches. Like, financially, it's not a viable option. It's a state-funded option or whatever it might be. So I did the simplest thing I could and tried to, like, make the club smaller. Not on purpose, but just go, I'm not going to focus on getting new people. I'm just going to focus on the people that I have. And then I reduced the membership by not doing 1 time a week membership, because I felt like I couldn't service those people properly. And that was a big financial hit, but it was a quality hit that I was willing to take. And then I ran seminars to offset the loss of money for that. So I ran seminars, and basically I just tried to keep the club moving as well as I could with what we'd sort of set up. And I guess the only downside to that was it was such a big club, and the overheads, you know, and having staff, like paid staff as well, and having that commitment. Like I said to Tani, or we worked out later, it was like, I was never going to stop having Cal at my club, because he's an integral, pivotal person that was there from day one. But it was like, I wanted to keep him for the sake that he needed that as well. I didn't want to pull that out. So it was just like, you know, should I have done that differently? Probably. Did I want to? No, I did it exactly how I wanted to. I kept employing him way longer than financially viable, but it was like, keep doing that, keep everyone as best as I could. And basically what I tried to do was keep the club going until Brando qualified for the Com Games. Like, I felt like if I could get Brando to the Com Games and he could be selected, then it was like it was done. And I feel like for a lot of athletes, maybe they don't see it from our coach's point of view, but it's like, whatever you do when you make it to a competition, it is what it is. But you deserve to fucking be there. You've put the work in, you've qualified, you've done everything. And it's like, the job's done. Like, whether you get first place or last place, you've done it, you know? So like me closing the club before the Com Games, as shit as that may look, it was actually that it was done. You know, like,
that was the end of your journey.
I financially went a year longer than we should have. But I felt like, or what I thought was, I couldn't let people down. And man, I did. Let heaps of people down. Let so many people down. But I was letting myself down first. You know, I emptied out my cup. I couldn't give any more. I tried so fucking hard. It's heartbreaking. Like, I've shed all the tears I could possibly shed over it in the last year or so. So it's like, yeah, that process and time is done, but it's like, you'd always, I think most people just do the best they fucking can, as much as they can, you know? And I think we've spoken about it before, so it's kind of like, you know, at that time I was getting a lot of messages to say, you know, like, how dare you, or that's terrible, how could you? And it's like, well, just fuck, it's happening. Like, it's gone on long enough. Like, it has to stop, you know? So, and that was good. Like, I look back now and I go, it's perfect. It's all perfect, man. Like, the whole process, the 5 years of having the club and everything that happened, like, it's, at the time you feel like you're dying, but you look back and you're like, there's so many cool lessons in that. So much gold for me and for whoever else was a part of it, you know? Like, I'm fucking proud of what Gold Coast Weightlifting Club did, and all the members and the atmosphere that we created, and the teams that we hosted, and seminars that we put on, and everything like that. It's just like, awesome, done, you know? And if it lives on or doesn't, it's like it's had its time, you know? It's like summer and winter. It's just, things aren't forever, and some things just can't be. You know, it's like, some of the greatest minds of our time don't live to a ripe old age, you know? Bruce Lee, Jimi Hendrix, like, people that are like profound, and some events that are profound as well. It's like, maybe Burning Man won't go forever, you know, but the people that did go or were there will know.
Yeah,
they will know.
Oh, they say the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
Yeah, man, it was fucking awesome. Like, that was a really cool part of my life. I fucking loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Let's talk about the future and what's going on in the present now.
Dude, so much. Future stuff. Well, to be honest, man, I'm really just still sitting in that contemplation phase. I'm not ready yet to do anything. I honestly feel like I fucking retired, you know? Like, I feel like I'm a semi-retired person now. And I'm just like, I've had my career. Like, I've done my career. And now it's just like, well, now what do I want to do? I got no idea. I'm still trying to suss that one out. I guess maybe a decade of living my life for others means that now I get to do more for myself and for my family, I guess. I think that's where my priority has been for the last 18 months, is working back on my relationship with Tani. You know, Tani and I have been together for 17 years now, and like, that was a huge part when the club shut too. I definitely need to talk about that, because that's really shaped what's happened. And most people wouldn't know. This is the thing. It's just like, when the club shut, that was it. Like, there's legitimately people that I've never spoken to ever since. Some people that I used to coach for up to 4 hours a day, I have not seen or spoken to since the club shut its doors. It's bizarre, because that was the thing. You think when you invest so much time into somebody and have a relationship like that, that it is something, you know, but the reality is so different, you know. I always thought that. I was like, you never hear from people. Some people, but it's just like, that's it. Like, it's like, it must have been a business exchange or something else. Like, you know, you spend years with people, working with them and trying to support and grow them, and then nothing. It's bizarre.
Very. Relationships are weird things.
It actually, the more I've learned about it and the more I've thought about it, is like, it's like our relationship with everything is the relationship that we have with ourselves. So it's, you know, the two minds philosophy. It's like Eckhart Tolle, like, you know, sitting there talking to yourself in your own head. It's like, who's listening? If I'm talking, who is listening in my head? Because it's a conversation that we have with ourselves. It's like, holy fuck. And then we just go out in the world and have it with everyone else. So I really get now, it's like, how people treat people is how they treat themselves. It's actually got nothing to do with me. So the people that I've never spoken to since, it's actually their own relationship that they have with themselves being reflected out into the universe. So it's like, they've obviously got their own stuff going on. You know, it's actually got nothing to do with me. It's got to do with them. So yeah, just yeah, I think, I would like to talk about it, because what happened was the weekend just before I shut the club, Tani had an event on at our house, and she actually, the long story short is, she actually met someone that she really, really liked, and it was, I witnessed it. So my wife Tani, relationship, totally monogamous for 10 years, whatever it was, together for like maybe 15 years at that point, and rock solid, so I thought. And Tani met someone, and it was kind of like, holy shit. And it was the Monday that I shut the club. On the Thursday night, Tani's like, I'm gonna go and visit that person, like, I'm gonna go and spend time with her. And I was just sitting there just going, like, not now, any time but now. Like, here I am shutting the club, totally hitting rock bottom, what I thought was rock bottom, and then totally just the trap door falling out into the abyss. It was like I fell off the chair and then realized that I needed 14 more stories to fall, you know?
Yeah.
It was fucking monumental. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, why me? Not now. This is unfair. Like, just so much stuff happened where I was just like, holy shit. And from going from having like 100 conversations a day with all these different people to not having any interactions with anyone because I wasn't coaching anymore, I was alone. I was essentially alone. Like, I shut my club. So who am I as an identity? Like, totally gone. Like, if I'm not a coach, who am I? If I'm not my job, who am I? If I'm not a weightlifting coach, who am I? All these things came into my head, and then it was like, and now potentially I don't have my partner either. I was just like stripped bare, it felt like. Totally just like swept away. It was the most insane couple of months, really. And it was also really challenging because at the same time it was like I wasn't sharing that info with anyone because it wasn't for me to share. And the few people that did want to contact me only knew about the club closing. So it was kind of like, people were like, are you okay? And it's like, well, no. And it's like, and then they're giving me advice about the club and about coaching and stuff. And it's like, I haven't even thought about it. Like, the club closing was very hard and very difficult, but it was actually my relationship with my partner that actually like threw me the most. So it was a really weird time because I'm someone that likes to talk. I'm like, I need to share this and express myself and, you know, get some feedback to go, that's terrible, Lindsay, or, oh, you know, validation or whatever it was. And I got none of it because I wasn't looking for it. I was literally just sitting in it. I just had to sit in it. I was listening to this book at the time called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And I was also reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. So these two books right at the same time, right at this time that I shut the club, and what I thought was my marriage was breaking up. And oh, so hectic. It was so hectic. And I ended up, we worked through it. So Tani, you know, the whole time was like, I love you, I want to be with you, but I also want to be with this person as well, this woman. And it took me a good couple of months to actually realize that she wasn't leaving. Like that whole when you're stressed you can't think moment. So I was just so stressed. I just couldn't contemplate the world. I was just like in me, in my bubble, in my body, not coping at all. And yeah, that's where I let a lot of people down. That's what I was saying before. Just like remote members that I still had that I was trying to help and support, and you know, helping people guide them to where they wanted to go next and all that sort of stuff. It just fell off the rails for me. I couldn't. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. Some days I couldn't stop crying. Some days, like I had a job where I was a driver in this little ute, and it was perfect because some days all I would do was just sob all day because there was no one, I didn't have to look after anyone else. It was just me, you know. And I'm really grateful for the lessons because I'm thinking if Tani would have met someone when I had the club, I wouldn't have been able to do both.
Yeah.
I would have fucking went too hard basket. The club comes first, right? Out of the 4 principles, the club comes first, and then me, and then Balin, and then Tani, it would have been, and I would have just pushed her off, and we wouldn't be together. I fucking guarantee it. There's no way. It would have been too hard, get out of it. Like, that's not a priority or too painful to deal with. So, didn't have the club, didn't have any other job other than this couple of, like a part-time little job. And I had to process, man. I was literally just forced to sit in it for months and months and months. The feeling, just the feeling of dread and of upset. And it was good. Like, it's not good at the time. It's like week 3 of the program, you know, or week 7 of the program, where you're just like, kill me. But
my knees are sore, my back hurts.
I can't sleep. I'm just ruins. But it's like, that's where the growth is. The pain is where the growth is. Like, go for it. Like, my one piece of advice to people now is like, if it makes you uncomfortable, do it. Fucking go there. Like, seriously, go there. All the stuff, because it brought up so much stuff for me that I didn't even know was there. Like jealousy. Like, I haven't had to be jealous of anyone for fucking years. I've then noticed though where it pops up in my life. So as a coach, I would be jealous of other coaches, athletes, or what they're doing, or how they're making their club go, or whatever. So there is elements of it, but the jealousy to the core where it's you as a person being judged, or you're judging yourself, it's like, wow, I judge myself so harshly. And it's only showing myself now because my partner is in love with somebody else. And it was like, oh shit, now I actually have to look at myself. So now it's great. Like, my relationship with jealousy now is that jealousy's great because it actually makes me want to do better.
Yeah.
It's actually, I can turn jealousy into a positive. So it's like
a fuel.
It's a fuel massively. Like, if my partner goes, oh, I like that person because they see me better, they listen better, they do this for me, or they do that for me. It's like, there's all those things that I haven't been doing. I know I should, but I'm kind of getting away with it, you know? Or I didn't even know that you liked that. So now I do, so now I know. So knowledge is power. It's like knowledge helps you. And I think the big learning and the lessons is that, like, I've researched and learned so much now about open relating and polyamory relationships and open, like, you know, Tani and I now like have an open relationship. Not to say that we want to go and be with anyone else, but the possibility is there. So inside of that, it actually opens up conversations and it opens up possibilities that were never going to happen otherwise. And it gives us so much more fucking freedom. Like the freedom to have a conversation, or the freedom to feel something, where usually we just shut down our feelings. Like I meet someone and I have this epic conversation and the feeling feels really good. And it's like, I'm not even sexually attracted to that person, but I do have feelings for that person and I'm allowed to feel them. It's not something that I need to withdraw from. So I have this full freedom to all areas of my life, and this is how it's created my life to change, is now I have full freedom in all the areas of my life to feel. Because I never really knew that. I didn't really fully understand that I used to shut down my feelings all the time in so many areas of my life, and now I don't have to. And I didn't know that because I didn't do it in my relationships. So because I can do it in my relationships, it's opened up to other areas. It's friggin' awesome. It is like, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, wow.
It's not the same. Not the same at all. And you know, it's been awesome. Like so many lessons in that last year of redeveloping and restructuring my whole way that I do myself in my life, and also how I do my partnership, you know, which is number 2 on the list. It's like myself, Tani and I, and then Balin, and how Tani and I interact is how Balin sees relationships. So that's been a really big eye-opener as well. So who I am as a man and who I am for Tani and how I show up for her, Balin's always watching. You know, our kids are always watching, and our kids are smart, man. They know. They might not know how to articulate their feelings, but they feel everything. We all do. So another really good book was Listen, that I read recently, that I highly recommend every coach to read and every parent to read. Kiflo is the last name, but any of the show notes I'll post up, any of the stuff that we share today or talk about, I'd happily send it to you. But
are you overheating? Do you want to go inside and stuff?
I'm loving it.
Okay, good.
I'm loving it. I literally sit inside so often I don't get enough sun, so I'm good.
Alright. Just wanted to double check. I want to make sure you're comfortable still.
I'm good. Yeah, so that's been a real big one. So like as far as like creating what's next now, it's like it's been really cool because it's like, well, how do we want our life to look? You know? So we went through this whole big breakdown so then we can grow or come out on the other side. So now it's more of a conversation of like a hedonist would. It's like, what pleasure do we want? Pleasure state. Like what feels good? Should we go and do that? Does it feel good? Yes. Let's go and do that, you know? Tani and I are saving to go to Burning Man next year. Like that's on the list. We're going to America next year. Courses that we want to do, like, you know, Tani's off doing a course in a couple of weeks' time, so she studied psychotherapy the last couple of years and is going to do some Hakomi work as well. So I'm really...
What's that?
Hakomi is like experiential learning. So I'd love you to talk to her about it. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to have her.
Yeah, so it's just like, she knows way more, but psychotherapy is very interesting, man. And to be honest, I would not go back to coaching unless I'd, 1, either done more philosophy studies, or 2, done some type of psychotherapy. Because honestly, man, coaching is therapy. That's really what we are. Teaching someone to clean and jerk and snatch, it's so fucking easy. Like, that is so simple. It's technical movement, yes, but that's the easy part. The hard part is getting someone to actually get their life in order so they can actually get better. It's like, that's why I laugh about the program sometimes with some people. It's like, it's so fucking far from relevancy that it's like, every program works. It's just a matter of like, do you think it's going to work, or are you going to do those extra things that you know you need to do? It's the difference between someone who's good and someone who's mediocre. It's like anything. Business is the same. You need to be intelligent. Like, definitely being intelligent is a good thing as an athlete. I really think that's a key factor as well, and I don't think it's reiterated enough. It's like, intelligence isn't just smarts. It's like, no, like listening to your body and doing the extra work and being a little bit smarter about how you train and, you know, how you manage your life, your whole fucking life, so you can end up being or getting the results that you want. You know, it's like coming to a venue on time. It's getting yourself organized, not forgetting your belt, you know, turning up and having everything sorted out. Like, that's intelligence. That's being smart about what you do.
What is the time? Do you have your phone on you?
No idea, man. I'll just talk forever. It's 10 o'clock.
Oh, we have plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Excellent.
Plenty of time. So, yeah. Future plans really, in a simple nutshell for us, is we're staying on the Gold Coast until Balin finishes school. And that's it. And then I want to just travel indefinitely, really, is what I'd want to do. I didn't get to travel in my 20s. You know, yeah, I've been over the world. Like, I've been to a lot of different countries and spent time, but I haven't spent that much time. 2 weeks max. I did 7 weeks in Germany when I was a kid, and that was great. But I'd really like to go and do some extended travel and basically build a cabin in the woods and have that as my home base. So, you know, Tani and I are sort of working towards that at the moment, is, you know, saving up and building ourselves a cabin so we can have our home base in Australia, somewhere in probably Northern Rivers or Gold Coast area, and then just smoke bomb out into the universe, just somewhere, just wherever it goes. That's really the plan.
It's a cool plan.
Simple. I mean, I definitely need to do business online. Tani's work is location independent.
Yeah.
So will do something the same. I know I will. Or otherwise I'll just work while we're in Australia and save, and then we'll go overseas and, you know, have Tani do the location independent work while we continue to travel. But I'm happy to do something as well. I've done location independent work in the past and it's possible for me. So it's just a matter of, do I want to?
Yeah.
That's all. Just make it super simple. Listened to a podcast recently with a guy named Naval.
Ravikant?
Amazing dude. And like you said, just live within your means. You know, it's the easiest way to create and give space for wealth. It's just whatever you earn, don't overspend, and just go out and enjoy your life, you know. And that's what Tani and I always laughed at people when I had the club. I'm like, dude, if I wanted to make money, I'd go and work at Subway. I used to say that all the time. Like, we don't do coaching for the money.
Yeah.
You know, Tani and I both work now and we earn way more than the club ever delivered for us personally. Like, the club earned money, but it all went into the club.
Yeah.
You know, the club just ran itself. It wasn't a money maker. I never ran the club to make money. That was the thing. Like, I literally, like, when I shut the club, I was in the process of trying to set it up as a not-for-profit. It was going to take 3 years minimum to set the club up as a not-for-profit, turning it from a for-profit to a not-for-profit. Because when I went and spoke to the guys about setting it up for a not-for-profit, they're like, why do you want to do this? And they just absolutely grilled me. They just said, it's not even a thing. Like, you're not going to be able to do it. It's like I pushed and pushed and pushed while I kept trying to run the club. And like Miles said, he goes, keep your equipment, because I originally thought I was just going to sell all my equipment to Cal so he could set up his. Like, I had to keep my equipment and then look at spaces and venues and then try and prove that it was a not-for-profit and elect all this stuff, and finding the location was going to be the biggest thing, and everything had red tape, so it was almost like impossible to run. So I mean, us originally setting it up as a for-profit was the only way that the club was ever going to open.
Yeah.
And it was the only way that it was actually sustainable to run, you know?
So how is like Cougars and stuff set up then?
It's a not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like if they were a not-for-profit 30 years ago, you know, and they set it up in a car park at Sleeman's. Like, if you really think about it, Cougars is an underground car park that's built in. Like, it's not a venue that the city of Brisbane created. It's like literally a hole in the wall kind of thing, you know? It's like people don't really see stuff like that, or they don't like switch onto it. And humble beginnings, man. Cougars was like 6 rubber mats on a concrete floor when they first opened up. It's not what they see now. That's a 30-year-old club, you know? That's why, as a for-profit, and capitalism works, is like we set up a 400 square meter gym in 2 years. We were set up like that 2 years in because it was for profit.
Yeah.
And we could invest all of our life savings into a gym, which is just mental.
I know that.
Yeah, I know, right? And people are like, screw you, man, or why is it so expensive? It's like, oh man, just like, and it's like, yeah, it's one of those funny things where you look back and you're just like, people just see what they want to see, you know, and it's like, I'm proud of it. Proud of what we did, proud of what's happened, and, you know, is it ideal? It never fucking is. Nothing is, man. It's like, it's just trying to do your best with what you got. That's all it ever is. And, you know, yeah, would it be different if we did different things? Of course it would be. Like, if Tani ran it the way Tani wanted to, it'd probably be it'd probably be still going, you know, but she let me run it the way that I wanted to, and she hopped off, and I did it the way that I could keep it together for the athletes.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm happy that it did what it did, you know, and that's it, man. It's just like, next journey. Because honestly, man, when I was in the heat of the moment, I was like, I'm doing this forever. Like, I was like, I found my job, this is my dream job, which it is and was. And like, I don't need to ever do anything ever again. And like, here I am a couple of years later, I'm not doing it anymore. Totally happy at the same time. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how does that work? What is this? You know, what's going to happen next? So yeah, I'm just not in a rush to jump into something next, you know, because I feel like it's a bit like how we do relationships. It's like, we break up with someone and then it's like, well, what's next? And it's like, well, you don't have to. You can actually just spend some time just getting to know yourself. And how do you want your life to look, you know? And here we are, you know? It's good.
I rang you a couple of weeks ago, and we had like probably like an hour and a half conversation.
Kind of like this conversation.
Very much like this, where I explained to you obviously some of the things I was struggling with.
Yeah.
And one of the funny things you said to me was like, a lot of people ring me and ask me about opening up weightlifting clubs, but no one's ever rang me and asked me about closing theirs.
It's so true, man. Like every week someone would call, and the opening's the easy part, man. It's exciting. You buy all the new shiny things and you quit your job and you're excited and you sign your lease and you haven't paid for it yet, and so much stuff where it's like, yeah, this is going to be sick, you know, it's going to be so much better than wherever I was, you know, and that entrepreneurial seizure that the E-Myth book talks about, where you're a technician doing something and you go, I could do this way better. All these faults that this person has, I'm never making those stupid mistakes. I'm going to do it right. And then you open up your gym or club and off you go and you make all your own mistakes, you know, and yeah, the shutting of the club, there is no manual for that. And I look at people now, man, like I watch people that have been in the game for a very long time, and there's so many things that I know that they want to do in their lives and they just don't stop coaching.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, your life is long, but life is short. It's like, think about it like this. What is the lesson that you're learning from this? And if you've got the lessons, then why do you keep doing it? Oh. Simon Sinek, man, start with why. It's one of the greatest books that you'll ever read, you know, and I'll get it as an audio and just go through that book and just give yourself some time and space to think about it. Because it could be that you really want to do it, you know, you really love coaching and you really want to have a club, and making a difference to people is good. And maybe some people can find the balance. Like I definitely didn't. I stopped training. I let my, you know, my health and fit wellness go to pieces, trying to fill other people's cup. And I had so many cups to fill that I wasn't filling the most important one, you know? So yeah, there is shutting the club. Yeah. Got an answer for that yet, Andy?
I have a road now. I have somewhat of a semblance of a pathway that I'm going down.
Yeah.
So I think around that time I called you, I had some other conversations that really stood out to me. in my growth, because obviously, like, you know, my partner is in Canada.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, she's not here.
Yeah. Kush, where are you? She's hiding under this cup. She's very small.
She is pretty small though.
She is very small. She packs a punch though.
And you know, like, what is my life going to look like in 3 years and 5 years and in 10 years? And honestly, I don't see myself owning raw barbell for the entirety of my life.
Yeah.
It's something that needs to have an end game. Which I liked, and apparently you didn't like as much.
Well, I didn't plan on it, but it's kind of like probably should have, you know? Like
no, I was talking about the movie.
Yeah, yeah, far out. Yeah, that's like, oh dear. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, like my plan now is to make the gym as much as possible, grow into a place where I'm not the person that needs to be there. You know, I'm not the person that has to do all the, like my name, my personality is not the club, which is a hard thing to do when you're a, you know, solo entrepreneur, sole trader sort of guy, right?
Dude, I did the same. Like, I am not Gold Coast Weightlifting Club. I said that for years into the club. It's like, I am not the club. The club is the club, you know, and trying to instill that into the members. But I mean, the hard one for me is that, you know, people just still left the toilet rolls on the ground, you know, and didn't put their weights away. And it's just like, you're not putting your own weights away. That's really what it is. You know, it's this hard sort of balance of people getting it, that I would never have opened up a weightlifting club if there was one. I've always said that. I moved to the Gold Coast because there wasn't one, and I had the vision, one of the few visions I've ever had in my life, where I'm just like, this really needs to happen. Yeah. You know, the Com Games was coming, and it was like, there is no club on the Gold Coast. And when the Com Games came along, my club wasn't there. It's like, it was already gone. You know, people always ask, oh, so, you know, you're going to have teams come? Like, no one came. Like, it wasn't even a thing. It was just like anticlimactic or what, you know? It's not important. It's just really not important. There's other clubs on the Gold Coast doing what they do, and best of luck to them, you know? Like, best of luck to people that are on their journey. Like, I don't stop anyone else from having the want or the desire to, and I guess it's just the only insight I have now is it's like, yeah, I've done the full complete circle of opening, creating, and then growing. Fuck, we were the biggest, you know. I thought Cougars was always the biggest, and we did we actually got the full stats when we shut the club, and it was just like, 130 members at one point, you know. And it's like, I'm sure Cougars has been bigger than that too, and maybe at the time it was or wasn't, but it's just like, there was a monumental place. Like, we weren't offering anything else. We were a fucking weightlifting club. So, you know, anyone that's sitting there struggling with their 30 members in their barbell club, it's like, quadruple that, you know, and then tell me that, you know, how dare you do what you did? It's like, it's just really bloody difficult, you know. It's like it's a big ball to push up that hill, you know, and the closing it is even more difficult because there's no right way. It's like, you try and look after people as best as you can, and then ultimately you have to look after yourself as well. And I think that's the challenge, is for years you selflessly giving yourself just endlessly all the time, weekends, like the amount of, like, there'd be times in my life where I would have every weekend filled up volunteering for like 12 weeks in a row. Tani would be looking at me like, when are we going to spend some time together? Yeah. And it's like, I'm sorry, babe, but it's just like, I have to choose the club. And that was really difficult, you know.
And it's hard because it's a sport that just takes and takes and takes.
There's no off season, and if there was, you wouldn't be able to run a business with it because you'd have to try and earn money somewhere else. Like, you know, hats off to people that are volunteer coaches because they give their time, but they also don't have the pressure of putting food on their table, you know. Like, I was a sole income earner for my family for a lot of those years, and it's not easy, man. It is not easy. There's a lot of stress that comes with that, you know, and that's that whole being able to think when you're stressed, you know. So, and look, I really struggle with confrontation. Like, I've always done that. I had an upbringing where if you confronted something, you could be physically not a good position to be in. So it was like me doing, and this is what I was saying before about how you interact with yourself is how you interact with the world. It's like confrontation for me was there's a physical risk, which isn't there now, but that's what I kind of grew up with, that kind of feeling. So it was not safe to do that. So to shut the club, there was a lot of confrontation that needed to happen, and I wasn't prepared. I just did not have the skill set. And then not only did I not have the skill set, I had huge personal things happen, you know, with Tani all at the same time. So it was just this huge meltdown for me to actual process. So how to shut the club? Probably don't have your marriage break down at the same time as one of my recommendations, you know, like don't recommend it, but it's the way that it goes. And for me, it's like things need to get so bad for me to actually make a change, for me to change. Yeah, like Tani goes, you need a fucking baseball bat to the side of the head to get something through to you sometimes, you know, you are not subtle. And I'm like, yep, I'll own that, you know. So I was like, it was perfect. Like, yeah, shutting the club and having my marriage do that. I mean, you know, we're stronger than ever now, but at the time it's just like, fuck, you know, most people wouldn't know, but like I nearly fucking died. Like there was a point where I was like, it was too much. And I was literally on my way to jump off a cliff. Like legit, I was going to fucking kill myself. And a mate called. And he's literally like, just come and stay at my place, man. Like I'd literally left the house, packed my bags. I had my book Shadows with me ready to write something, and I was going to go and fucking be gone. You know, it was like way too much for me to deal with. And it's like people would say, oh, it's like you've always got someone to talk to, but it's like you literally get to that point where it's so overwhelmingly, gut-wrenchingly painful that you can't think of anything else but just wanting that to stop, the pain to stop, you know? And you just feel like there's just no other option. It literally gets to that point. Like I've been there twice in my life, once when I was younger, and then, yeah, last year, or whenever it was last year. Yeah, last year. So it's just like fucking heavy place to be, you know? And you can have all the support in the world and it doesn't matter. Because it's literally like asking for help and support is too hard. It's like legit too hard to even contemplate that even. You know, I see posts about, you know, reach out, or it's never too weak to speak and live in and all that sort of stuff, which is a great message. But I honestly understand it now from a experiential point of view it's just like part of you has to die, but you don't have to die.
How did you come to that conclusion? Was it in that moment, or was it a process?
It was a process, and it was I was lucky enough that my mate called me back when he did, you know.
So wait, you called him first?
Yeah, I was like, I just needed somewhere to go that wasn't home, just to go and be, and it was very distant, like no one from the weightlifting club, because they didn't know, and it was just not my family either. Like I just needed someone totally separate, but that's someone that I loved and trusted. And yeah, man, it was like I wake up that morning and I was just like I was all good, you know, and it wasn't like I was good straight away, but I was just in that realization that it's like part of me needs to die. And I hear it now when I've learned and listened more stuff about rites of passage and around like lots of the guys that I follow on Instagram have just had these and on podcasts have the most amazingly similar lives to me, like Mike Bledsoe, you know. He
just left Shrug Collective as well, right? He retired as CEO.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, open relationship, use psychedelics to heal a lot of the stuff which I was able to do last year. So, you know, not saying that, you know, psilocybin and psychedelics is for everyone, and it's definitely not a social thing. It's a medicine. Like, I literally dealt with a lot of my stuff through rites of passage and plant medicine, and finding out about him. And then Aubrey Marcus is another person, open relator, doing a lot of good stuff out there.
Another great book for people to read.
Own the Day.
Yeah,
man, absolutely. So like, I just did, like, it's so bizarre when you see what's actually going on in life and in other people's life, that you're not alone. Because before Tani met someone else, I'd never even thought or considered open relationships as like a possibility. I'd always seen it as something where someone's unhappy, they go somewhere else because they really just don't want to be with that person. Not, you can actually love more than one person. And Tani's put it so eloquently to me when I was in that fear state, was, it's like loving your mum and your dad. It's not like it's a zero-sum game where you love this one 60% and this one 40%. It's like, you love them both, you just love them in different ways. Yeah. It's not even the same. So it's like, oh, you know, so how you love your girlfriend and how you love your husband is for two different things. It's like, oh, that's awesome. So, you know, Tani being with someone else, it's just it's an itch that I can't scratch.
Yeah.
That's good. And then,
because she's getting something that you can't give her.
Tani has grown and expanded into someone, like, I feel like crying just thinking about it. It's like, she's fucking incredible, man. Like, and so much more incredible now. Like, I'm so grateful for her to go through that process and be brave enough to go through that process, because, like, I couldn't have done that. There's no fucking way I could have done that. Tani went and did it, you know, and it's like, Tani did that process for me as well. It's like, she took the risk to follow what she really wanted, and the payoff has been huge for me. You know, it's like, how the fuck does that work? Like, that doesn't seem right. Or it feels like, I feel like what most people would probably do is go, oh, my partner wants to be with someone else and I'm going to stop that relationship. But it's not like that. You know, it's like, I just stood in it and I stood for what our relationship was, and just held it. Just held that energy the whole time and let her do what she needed to do so I could process my stuff. Because it was like, her being out there in the world and not with me actually gave me time to process. And that was something that I wouldn't have been able to do. Like, it just fucking wouldn't have happened, man. No way. No way. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that process. And, you know, it's just like, it's relief. It's just relief for her and her life, that she gets to live a life she loves. And now I do too. It's like, yes, we're fucking winning. You know, like, people go on Facebook and Instagram and go, you guys seem really fucking happy. It's like, we are, because we've tested it. Like, I feel like most people in their relationships, they've never fucking really tested it. They think they have, but they fucking haven't. They haven't. And it's like, that's just my judgment. Not to say it's real, but, and I'm not like Marcus Aubrey, or Aubrey Marcus says, like, open relating's not for everyone. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like psilocybin's good for everyone either. It's like, it's a process, it's a medicine. So your lessons you're going to learn in your life are going to come from unexpected places, and it's not having the resistance to it. It's like, fuck, I'm really confronted by this conversation, or I'm really confronted by my partner potentially leaving me for someone else. Cool. What's that bringing up for you? Forget about them. In that sense, it's like, what is it bringing up for you? Because it's not that person, what they're doing. It's actually how it makes you feel. That's actually going on. So if you can master yourself, like putting yourself first, like fucking love yourself enough that you can stand in that, or in front of whatever's going on in your life, and just stand for it. It's fucking cool, man.
What can you liken that that feeling to, like, when you're standing in it? Because I can only imagine that it is obviously there is a freedom to it that you have afterwards.
Yeah, fuck.
But there must be an unimaginable pain as well that comes along with it.
It is, but it's like it's the dying of something, right? Like it dies. Like literally, it's like the pain is so wrenching that it's like you move through it. It's one of those things. It's like a belief. You have to. It's almost like experiential pain of doing something is the best teacher. It's like pain is the teacher, or love is the answer. It's like it always comes back to that. It's so cliche, man. Love's the answer. This is a podcast about love now. But it's like literally, yeah. It's like don't run from the pain. I heard Mike Bledsoe say it's like if it makes you scared, then you definitely should do it. Or if the answer is no, or I can't, then the answer has to be yes. It's like, oh shit. You know, it's like any choice in life. It's like, oh, you know, this or this, or this is coming up for me. I feel like I want to get away from that. It's like, well, have you considered maybe you should do that? Just so you can get the lessons out of it. Not saying hurt yourself, but it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Because then you're just like, you're fucking unstoppable. It's like, I have full freedom now. Like, I am not afraid of time. Like, I can actually, like, I got to the point in that relationship last year where I was like, that's it. I'm done. I don't want to, like, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I love you. I care for you so much, but I can actually live my life without you. I'm okay with you not being in my life. Because this is someone that I've spent more time with than my mum or my dad. I've literally spent more minutes with Tahani than I have any other human on the planet. And it was like that codependency had to be pulled apart as well, because we're so dependent on each other that it's like we are now actually two individuals together. Way better process, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's actually a relationship.
Wow.
Like a solid one. And that's why we're fucking killing it. We're loving life. We get to have so much joy and freedom, you know, in our lives. Like Tani's down there now with her partner. And I'm like doing my life and fucking loving it, you know? It's like it's the best freeing feeling I could possibly have. It's unbelievable. What's the feeling? You did ask a question and I never answer your questions. So.
That's all right. The questions
what's the
are
feeling?
the prod of talking, not the
Yeah.
not a question for the sake of questions.
I feel like yeah, what's that feeling? It's like I'm a different person. It's like I'm standing, it's like I'm in this physical body, but it's like I'm not who I was. I'm just not who I was. That's why I think about it sometimes where I'm just like, I'm not who I was 2 years ago. Just what I've been through and what I'm doing and how I create my life and the relationships that I have now and what they mean to me, and it's just so different. It's really bizarre. It's like I know no one. Like I have people walk into the shop that I haven't seen in years, and it's just like, I know them, but I don't know them. Like who I am 6 months ago is not who I am now. So it's like, if I haven't seen you in 6 months, like think about the growth that I've had in the last 2 years, and I'm just like, well, it's like I need to know you all over again.
Yeah, because you're open to potentially a different side of the person that you're meeting or seeing like, again. Or
yeah, it's like who I am is different. So it's just how I perceive the whole world is different.
That's crazy. It's crazy to me to think that like changing you can change someone else.
It absolutely does. It's like the whole lesson and learning about like your masculine, feminine energy. It's like you want to, I've read it a million times, like you want to fix the world, like fix yourself first. It's like it's your whole relationship with yourself that has you have your relationship with the world. It's like, you know, if you've got an issue with your mum or your dad, it's like, well, they are who they are. Like, what's your relationship to them going to be like in the face of that? Like, the wall is white. The wall is white. The sky is blue. Why be upset that the sky is blue? It's blue. It's no other colour. It is at sunset, so there's some variety at night. But it's like, being upset that the sky is blue and not orange, that's just hurting yourself. That's what I tried to explain to Balin the other day. It's like, you being upset about something just leaves you upset. It doesn't actually change that person. Like, he's on this beautiful stage in his life where he doesn't like me at the moment. I'm okay with that, because that's a process of like agitation. Like, how many times have we had a client that just all of a sudden just, they don't like you anymore. It's like they loved you and they listened to everything, and now they're just like they're being upset. And it's like, cool, what's going to happen here? It's like, are we going to deal with this?
Yeah.
Or are you going to move on and get the next lesson? Or are you going to go to the next coach and have exactly the same process? Because, I mean, I've seen it happen over and over again. Like, the numbers don't lie, man. I've looked at a lot of the stats of a lot of lifters and even my own lifters since shutting the club, and it's like, not much has changed, So it's just like, mentally, what are you doing differently? It's just one of those things. It's like, you're on a growth path here. It's not just physical, and weightlifting is always, and I always said it, it's a mental sport. It really is.
I think that's probably a good place to leave off.
Cool.
We both have places to go shortly.
Yep, definitely.
People to coach or work to do.
Something. Life to live, man.
Life to live. Sun to see.
Oh, so good, man.
It is so pretty here today, isn't it?
Look at how crystal clear that water is, man. Oh, I thank you, Andy. Thanks so much, man. Like, it's always just so good to get on here and chat to you, but I know that a lot of it was cathartic for me to be able to release a lot of make sense of it, because for myself, it's just mainly for me. I just wanted to express where I'm at and what's going on, and you give me that platform to do that, and the work that you've done and what you're going through as well, man. Like, I'm such a supporter for whatever you want to do.
Thanks, man. And I appreciate all the time you've given me.
Yeah. And I know you've got a lot of stuff coming up in the future, so...
Yes. Yeah, well, everyone does.
Yeah.
A lot of growth. Lots to be had. Lots of exploration. Lots of trial by fire. We'll see.
So much fire. I hope that people, take away from today is just step into the fear. Like, you're gonna get growth out of that big time. Like, there's something that you're sitting on, or some uncomfortable conversation that you need to have either with yourself or with somebody, is like, take that little step, just feel the fear and move into that. It's okay.
Where can people find you if they wanted to? If you want them to.
Oh, man. I put my account on public again. I just don't mind. I'm just on Instagram. I literally use it as a visual diary. If you like eagles like me, you're going to see a lot of them if you follow me. There's one right there now, just cruising around, that I know is a good omen for me. So, just Instagram, Linzey B, and that's it. I told everyone, and I was honest, is like, there's no purpose for Facebook for me. It's a toxic place. That social media is a really weird, wacky thing that I think for a lot of people they could do with some digital sparsity and get off that stuff. So, deep work or digital minimalist is another guy that I highly recommend, or books that I recommend, is do some deep work and give yourself some time to decompress, get off that thing. But Instagram, you can find me.
Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Guys, you can find Raw Barbell Club at Raw Barbell Club on all of our social medias. So that's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the in between. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, check out our stories, see what the guys in the club are doing. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. You can see awesome episodes like this, cool conversations, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. And if you love this episode like I did, this podcast started off as one thing, and now is just me, talking life, which is amazing to see. Even just like the podcast change direction completely. I rarely talk about training nowadays. It's all about, the things that are going on in everyone's life. Like you said, there's so much more to training. There's so much more to coaching than just this, what's written down on the paper, right?
Get out there. So yeah, if you like the episode, please share it. Please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And lastly, if you really want to help the podcast, you now can.
So making this podcast is awesome fun, but it costs a lot of money, and all we ask is a small donation. So go to www.rawbarbellclub.com/donate, and you'll be able to donate whatever amount you see fit. Thanks again for being here, man.
Love you all.
See you later.